Welcome, everyone. Dr. Lett here. I'm honored. Listen, I've been interviewing mentors, heroes, people really involved in the community doing amazing work for everyone. I have the pleasure and privilege to be here with Damonn, Coach D. Dixon. I don't want to ruin and spoil everything that he's about to share, but this man has done anything and everything you can think of in the community and also blessed so many lives of young people. And now he's worked with their kids and grandkids. That's just how much of an impact he's had. Before Coach D introduces himself, there was a little bit of a scheduling mix up. Coach D was a tad bit confused. He thought our interview was over an hour ago. That's really the metaphor to when Coach D and I would race on the track. I confused him. He didn't know where I was going next. So without further ado, Coach D.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. As he said, I am Damonn, Coach D. As most people know me as Coach D Dixon. When Dr. Lett knew me, if when I was walking the halls of Eagle Heights Academy, if you knew me as Mr. Dixon, it was kind of like, but if you knew me as Coach D, oh, you was in there. You was like Prego. You was in there. So to know me as Coach D was a blessing. And so anybody that knows me as Coach D, that's a blessing right there. So it is a blessing and an honor to be able to be here with you, Dr. Lett, on this afternoon.
Yes. Now, Coach D, your contributions to the Mahoning Valley cannot be overstated. Can you tell the viewers why have you poured your body, sweat, and tears into this community?
I love young. I remember, and this just came to me. I'm telling a little bit. I was taking notes, but I'm going off. Anybody know I come from the heart, really. A lot of times, forget my notes. I remember since we Coach D, track and field. When I was an athlete for the Youngstown Striders, I went to the Junior Olympics. It's how much I love Youngstown. When you go to the Junior Olympics, they do something where you rep your state. So while everybody was repping their state, instead of saying Ohio, I was saying Youngstown. So you hearing people saying Texas, and then you hear a little voice in the background, Youngstown. You hear it all around, it's all over. It's just like, Maryland, Youngstown, Indiana, Youngstown. People like, what's this Youngstown? Where is that? I was putting us on the map because I love my city, but people don't realize, we got Schwabels, we got Arby's, it's a lot of the good things that come from this city, so the fact that Youngstown is a melting pot, and I've actually navigated not all 50, but close to all 50 states. So getting that, melting pot experience, Youngstown really embodies that, so I just love that Youngstown culture.
Now, Coach D, you're a legendary track coach in the community, also a legendary track athlete. But when people refer to you as their track dad, really, I would push back a little and say you're more like their dad because for many of your athletes, myself included, your impact went well beyond the track. Can you give us a few examples of your impact beyond the track from your perspective?
I'll go in and kind of like in the order. My very first example, I'm gonna give three examples. God worked with me in threes. So my first example would be, call them the twins. A lot of them know one of them is actually coaching now. She actually coaches. It was like my first experience with a group of kids that embraced me like a father figure. And I knew mom, I knew the parents as I do, with you guys, I knew mom and everything. They were very involved, but they also realized that importance of this father figure type person, in their daughter's life. That was my first experience. But so to see where they are now and then to still see that love. I just saw their mom the other day, haven't seen their mom in maybe 20 years. And it was like, hadn't missed a beat. We were so happy to see each other, so it let me know that actually what I was doing at that time made a difference. There's another young man who I coached in long jump. He started coaching long jump, but now he's not even involved with track and field. He's like, if anybody sees his work on the internet, he's, what is it, topography? I mean, the man is doing his business. I mean, he's
Mhm.
great with it. God has definitely blessed him with that green thumb. And we keep in contact, and he says things of that nature. Your class, I had more in your class that actually pulled me to the side and asked me that. I had one in particular that literally in front of his father said, "Yo, like I want him to be my dad." I was like, "Wow," and me and his dad had to talk about that. It was like, "Look, you got to understand where he's coming from. I'm like this with a lot of the kids in the community. It's not just him, it's just how God made me, and we joked about it in the beginning, but I know he was kind of upset about it, but as time went on and when he started seeing other scholar athletes interact with me in that way, he was like, "Oh, you got kids?" The question came, "Do you have children?" I said, "Yeah, I've been a dad for many years, so this is automatic for me, it's nomenclature." So being able to embody that and still be able to still have that relationship with all of those people, it's a blessing.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for that. I can attest to Coach D just being the person that, guided me as I learned how to navigate life. And wow, many great stories that I'm sure we won't have an opportunity to share within this interview. But now you've touched on your faith a few times so far. Can you talk to us about the role your faith has played in your ability to overcome adversity?
It's unbelieving coincidence, you know. Just yesterday, a lot of us had to preach. I was one of them, and one of the things that was a reoccurring thing was the scripture about faith without works is dead, meaning that you got to get off your butt and do something. You know, my faith in God has driven me to do everything. How I do anything is how I do everything. But my faith in God is what grounds me. Excuse me, is what roots me. It makes me do better, makes me be better. So my faith in God is actually what gets me through no matter what I'm going through. Why? Because I know where I am today and I know where I was before. And if I look back, as they say in the church, as I look back over my life and I think things over, oh yeah, I got a testimony. Why? Because way back when I didn't believe, God brought me out. Every time God brought me out. So for me, it's easy for me now, because especially being in the ministry, but seeing the breadcrumbs along the way, each time my faith, God got me out of it. Oh yeah. Trust and believe. I'm going to lean on God no matter what's going on, to the good and the bad.
Now, that's an excellent follow up into this next question. So, as previously stated, many of your athletes and mentees, they view you as a father figure. How have you grown as a father, man of God, husband through your engagement with mentoring relationships?
I'll start as a man of God. That's the number one. As I grow as a man of God, that encapsulates everything else. I gain wisdom as a father and a husband, have a different point of view on things. As you know, fatherhood, when you become a father, you have a different point of view on things than as you did before. So, and as you age, you mature, you look out the window and you see things a little differently, than the children do. So really, me being a man of God has trickled down, me being a father and a husband. I've had kind of going into another question, I know, but a lot of you guys, have taught me the love and support that you guys have given me throughout the years, was motivation to be like, okay, I got to step it up a little bit more than each, because they're maturing, they're getting older, they're getting wiser. So if they're coming to me for knowledge, that means I got to step it up, So having those things in my life, things of that nature, it definitely embodies what it is to be a man of God, a father, and a husband.
Yes. And Coach D is really the one person early on that I recall going to really just for guidance, right? For guidance and for intellectual, conversation, things of that nature. You're a firm believer in intellectual growth, furthering one's education, whether it's formal or informal. You and I have had extensive talks about this offline for years. What are some of the most effective non-traditional ways you've educated yourself?
The main library. I'm one of those people that, I have those signs in my front yard. I love my library. That's me. Yep. I definitely try to seek knowledge. It's one of the things that my pastor, loved about me early on, that you're a researcher. You're a psychology major, you research everything. Yes, I do. Like I question, I'm like a naturally I have a scientific mind. And whether I know it to be true or not, I have to still question because I just have a thirst for knowledge. So the main library, teachable moments. As like I said, I was kind of teetering into another question already, but you guys don't even realize, and I think your past interviewers kind of mentioned this as well. We can learn from you guys, the things that you say, and whether it's good or bad. Prime example, there's a lot of different slang these days, you know. So listening to the young people keeps me in the loop. So I'm learning. I'm trying to educate myself so that I can, it's not foreign language to me when I'm sitting in amongst them and they trying to talk with coach sitting there thinking coach don't know what they talking about. So learning that way as well. I mean, attending seminars. I found myself, now that I'm a homeowner, something that I had never done. I started going to the homeowners association. Well, I found out, there's other things that you're learning at these meetings other than just being a homeowner. It's like, oh wow, vast information, other things that I had questions about and couldn't get the information, didn't know where to get the information, but now I'm getting it from attending, something that I never did before. So really just trying to reach out to things that maybe I didn't even know existed, those resources in the community that are there, to educate myself.
Now, I was extremely fortunate. Coach D just remarked about the ways in which he's further his growth, his intellectual stimulation. Now, I was over the moon. Coach D actually attended my dissertation defense January 22nd, 2026. So, a few months ago. Coach D, I would like to ask you, what was that experience like for you? One, it was a blessing beyond belief. But what was that like for you?
I'll be honest with you, those that don't know, I'm getting a little choked up here, teary eyed, because Dr. Lett is, as he said, a lot of these kids, they are like sons to me for real. And I take that very serious. It was a very, very heartfelt moment because I missed out only because I didn't know you prior to Eagle Heights, but from that moment, I've seen you walk the stage, Eagle Heights, next level high school. I saw you walk that. So next level college, I saw you walk that, boom. So then what? Oh wow, like look at him. So to be present at that's the next level. Oh man, like to be able to see that and witness that, man. I tell you what, I was sitting there. I think I did. I was glad that I there was no volume on my end because I did get choked up a little bit, a little teary eyed, watching you do your thing, because I was kind of like I said, you like a son to me, so I was getting kind of upset because I felt like, man, hold up, y'all throwing a little too many trick questions at him now. Like we're trying to slip him up. That ain't him. You ain't gonna catch my son slipping now. I was getting kind of upset. Like he too smooth for that. But yeah, I was really impressed. And like I said, I was sitting there with my chest out, really like, look at my boy. And I think those of us, you know, without it being a soft, you know, don't want to touch a subject, but those of us that, knew, and have been able to be a father figure to you, knowing the situation, for me being a man of God, I think in a way I've always had a spiritual connection. So in a way, I think that for me, the reason why it's going to be more of a connection is because I feel like I also have somebody else that is watching, through my eyes as well. This is why God is allowing me to be in each step along the way to be able to see, you know what I mean? So I think it's not just my love, God knowing that love that I have, the dad is saying, hey, use him because he got that same love, like he's saying that's my boy. I need to use his eyes, so I'm telling you, Love, love.
Yes, yes. And for any viewer watching this, a recurring theme throughout this interview and many of the other ones that I've conducted, Coach D, he shows up. He shows up time and time again. Different stages and phases of your life. He's there. He's showing up. He's supporting. Really, that's something that it can be taken for granted until you realize that that's someone that was placed in my life for a reason, that different stages and phases, I didn't always know that reason. And we can go periods where we may not communicate. Life sometimes is lifing. However, he's still going to show up. And switching gears a bit, for anyone watching this that may be experiencing challenges or wondering if they can overcome their current situation or circumstances, what advice would you give them?
Trust God, trust you, trust the process. Trust God, trust you, trust the process. If you put God first, everything else will fall into place, period, point blank. That's scripture. If you trust you, a lot of times we be like, man, I should have went with right. Should have went with my first right. Trust you. Because if you trust God, that first instinct you had was God telling you. My aunt just told me recently, we got it all wrong. The songwriter said, God trying to tell you something. God don't try to tell you anything. God tells you. We just have a hard time listening, you know. So trust the process, because it's all God's plan. So trust God, trust you, trust the process.
Yeah, so it has been an honor. It has been a privilege, Coach D. You know, you know. And before we finish up, what takeaways would you like to leave the viewers with?
Hey, yo, start preaching. Because I've been saying it pretty much all the way through, but it doesn't matter what your lifestyle is. It doesn't matter what your title is. It doesn't matter what your belief system is. Keep God first. Care how you live in your life. I don't care if you feel like, man, I'm not doing it right. We all wasn't doing it right at some point, you know? But keep God first, you know? Just keep one foot forward ahead of the other. And as the songwriter said, and I love this one, take one step, God to do the rest. All you got to do is take one step. And there it is right there. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Take one step and God to do the rest. Going to that upper level, at that top floor. Yes, sir.
So that concludes this amazing interview with Damonn, Coach D Dixon. Remember, take one step. Take one step. Coach D, it has been an honor. This is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. So it has truly been an honor.
Pleasure and honor is all on this end as well, young king. Trust and believe that. Love you.